Brother and lads, welcome back to Kossi's Arsenal podcast. My name is Kossi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. We're going to be diving into the latest news around Arsenal Football Club. There is a lot to talk about. Fabrizio Romano has come out and said there was a possibility for Leroy Sane to sign for Arsenal this summer, but Arsenal were never fully 100% convinced, and that could change next summer. It was all about Leroy Sané's injuries, healing. It was also about a lot of things, and that's why the deal didn't actually come through. Now, it was reported earlier on by Jacob Benz that Arsenal were interested in Leroy Sané. There was not any strong links from Germany. And I think the story really died there. But according to Fabrizio Romano, later on, speaking with the Build, of course, he said there is a possibility that Arsenal will try to sign Leroy Sané next summer. He's a player they appreciate. He's a player they have been following for some kind of time. Now, we also have some kind of interest from Jonas Wind at Wolfsburg. He's a young striker from the German Bundesliga. And has actually come out and said if there was a time, if there was, an opportunity for him to sign for a new club, that would be Arsenal Football Club. Now, my question for you in this video is, do Arsenal need some kind of number 9? Do we need another striker, some kind of striker that is so different from Gabriel Jesus? Do we need a traditional striker? Do we need a conventional striker? Or you guys are happy with Gabriel Jesus and the kind of work is done up top, working the channels and trying to help Arsenal, Football Club link up play just like the way he does? I think he's really started off well in the Premier League, at Manchester City and also at Arsenal. But what do you think? Do Arsenal need a new striker? Should we be thinking about the likes of Victor Osimhen? Should we be thinking about the likes of Luka Jovic, that kind of striker? Strong in the air, can act as a billboard, and also is gonna be scoring for you those chances in the penalty area, always in the penalty area. That kind of poacher. Do Arsenal need someone like that? Because that is what Jonas Wind is all about. Then, of course, I want us to talk about the PSV game. Hit the like button for me. Let's get this video to 300 likes, and also subscribe to the podcast as well if you like the content. But let us start off with the PSV game. This Thursday, we are scheduled to play PSV Eindhoven at the Emirates Stadium in the UEFA Europa League. Now, the initial information that came out of the Metropolitan Police was Arsenal can host that game at the Emirates Stadium. We will have enough protection. However, the new bits of information coming out are indicating that some games that will be held in and around London might actually be called off. The Metropolitan Police are changing their words. They're going back on their words, and they're saying they might not be able to provide enough protection, enough security for fans that will be playing, will be watching Arsenal, PSV, and a couple of other games in London. So there is a possibility that any Chelsea games that will be played, I don't know if Chelsea are gonna be playing at home, but I think they will be playing at home because their initial game was in Zagreb. So Chelsea in the UEFA Champions League, Arsenal in the UEFA Europa League, those games could actually be postponed. Now, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy because it is not the whole competition, the Europa League, that is going to be postponed. It is only going to be Arsenal. It's only going to be Arsenal, PSV Eindhoven. That is the game that is going to be affected. There is a bigger likelihood that Manchester United will have their fixtures go on. The likes of West Ham could have their fixtures go on, and Arsenal, PSV will be called off. So let's wait and see. The Metropolitan Police are not yet sure if the game is going to be called off, but they've told Arsenal they're not 100% sure now if they will be able to provide us with the security we want. Now, the logic here, lads, is I don't know if it's logic or explanation or justification, but the explanation is much of the security, much of the police is going to be guarding, is going to be guarding and attending the funeral rites of Queen Elizabeth II. So we are anticipating less security for the Arsenal game, and more security on the Queen Elizabeth events. That is probably why now I understand the Premier League being called off, because there were a few explanations, including that the camera crews that had to cover the Premier League were also going to be covering Queen Elizabeth II's funeral rites, and that is why the Premier League had to be called off. But also we're talking about security, that there wouldn't be enough security across the country to cover for all the Premier League games and all the other sporting events going on as Queen Elizabeth as Queen Elizabeth's funerals were also carried out. So the PSV game could be called off. Let's wait and see. But if it is, then for me, it's a shame. It's a real shame, because this is a game I'm really looking forward to. We didn't have any game throughout the weekend, and it is highly likely that we will not have any Premier League games until the 1st of October. So the Europa League is the game, it's the only competition Arsenal have. And I just hope this game doesn't get cancelled. That's all. I just hope the competition stays and the game stays as well. Now, Fabrizio Romano was asked about Arsenal's interest in Leroy Sane, whether there was any genuine interest in Leroy Sane in the last summer, and whether Arsenal are willing to try again for Leroy Sane and the likes of Mikola Modric. And this is what he said on Leroy Sane. He said, "I'm not really sure. It could be true, because this summer they had a real possibility to try and sign him, but they were never 100% convinced. It's about age, it's about healing, it's just about a lot of things." That is Fabrizio Romano speaking on Build, and also on the Golazzo. I think he was on the Golazzo podcast, as I can see here. So, look, Romano is a key journalist for me when it comes to transfers. But he's not a journalist that reports about everything. And this is where people get it wrong. He's a key journalist in that when he says something, when he speaks about something, there is real intent. There is real intent with a club, from a club, when he links you to a certain player. For example, when he linked us to Rafinha, the deal didn't happen, but there was real intention. There was real intent, from Arsenal to sign Rafinha. And Arsenal were never 100% sure they were going to sign Rafinha. It was about Arsenal trying to take advantage of the situation. So Arsenal anticipated that Barca were never going to afford the price tag for Rafinha, which was around 65 million. So Arsenal thought, if we go in for Rafinha, following Barca's failure to meet the price, then we will get Rafinha. It was more of an opening. It was more of an opportunity. It wasn't a 100% situation where Arsenal went in and they were sure they would get him. And that is Fabrizio Romano for you. He tells you something based on the information he has, but at least what we know is that 90% of his information is always accurate. So on the Leroy Sane saga, it was reported by Jacob Benz earlier, deep in the summer, that Arsenal were interested in Leroy Sane, and he was one of the few targets we're actually looking at. Now, Fabrizio is saying in the summer there was a real probability, there was a real possibility for Arsenal to sign Leroy Sane, but they were not 100% convinced. And I don't think he's lying here, because Jacob Benz as well says Arsenal were always going to sign Leroy Sane if they were 100% convinced. And then Romano also said in the summer that Arsenal were looking to sign anyone in the wide positions, but they had to be first convinced about the project. They had to be first convinced about the player. So for me, Leroy Sane, there were a few clubs that wanted him. I think Chelsea were in for him. I think Arsenal, I honestly believe Arsenal were in for him. But Bayern were never going to sell Leroy Sane. I don't think it was always on their radar to sell Leroy Sane. So Madrid as well, I think he was offered to Madrid, according to a few rumors here and there. But the real future of Leroy Sane beyond the summer of 2021-2022 lied with FC Bayern Munich. One thing I'm sure of is they will listen to offers. next summer. January is out of the picture because we have so many fixtures coming in, and Bayern are really, really struggling at home. Something I've really not seen in a very, very big time. I mean, is it the end of an era? Probably. I don't know. So can Arsenal go back for Leroy Sane? 26 years of age. We talked about that. He's worked with Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, and is the kind of player Arsenal would definitely want. But why I think Arsenal never considered and Arsenal never thought of signing, Sane towards the end of the window, it's for me the signing of Fabio Vieira. Because what Leroy Sane gives us is a player who can play across the forward line as a number 10, as a left winger, and also as a right winger. And that is what Fabio Vieira does. And when you talk about age, like Fabrizio is highlighting here, age is one thing Arsenal have been looking at throughout the whole window. Fabio Vieira is 21, 22. Actually, he still plays as an under-21 international for Portugal. Leroy Sane is 26. After bringing the likes of Alexander Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, 25, 26 years of age, Arsenal wanted to still balance that with a few young players, 21, 22. And that explains the signing of Fabio Vieira. So, do we still need a forward? I think he's still on a radar. It is still on our radar. The Arsenal will try to sign a forward probably this January. We will try to go again for Mikola Modric. If it is not this January transfer window, then it is going to be next summer that we'll try to go and look at a new forward. But for me, Leroy Sane is one to look at. Leroy Sane is one player to focus on. In the summer, he will be 27, so Arsenal will be a little bit more skeptical than last summer. But for me, look, he's a player that Arsenal and Mikel Arteta understand very well. He's a player that is well proven at Bayern, at Manchester City. If Arsenal decided to sign him, I would not object in any way. He's a player that I really, really believe in. He's a player that I've followed all my life. Starting at Schalke 04, then coming to Manchester City, then going back to Bayern. I think he has a lot of qualities that the world just doesn't seem to appreciate enough. Look, I've looked at him and Mario Götze and Max Meyer, right, during that period of time. I don't know where Max Meyer is now. I think he's in Turkey, and it's a shame that Max Meyer didn't come into the Premier League and become a star, because I thought for me he was always going to become a star. I think he came into the Premier League, Max Meyer, but he never became a star. Arsenal wanted Max Meyer. But if you remember that Schalke 04, Jan-Klaas Sinteler, Max Meyer, and Leroy Sane. Sane is the only player among all those players. And maybe, probably, you could mention Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, because he plays for Bayern as well, I think. So, does he play for Bayern or PSG? I think Bayern, right? He was a backup striker last campaign for Robert Lewandowski. So, Leroy Sane is a player that I know has the qualities Mikel Arteta wants. Tracks back a lot, works hard, has the output, can play in every position you put him on the field. He's going to shoot from range, and that there is one reason I want us to try and sign him. Now, don't get me wrong. I would prefer signing players like Mikola Modric or Mikhailo Modric, because he's got that ceiling. But Leroy Sane is a player I'm so sure he would come in the Premier League and he wouldn't flop. What we always fear about young players and players from the German Bundesliga is, and I'll talk about this when I talk about Jonas Wayne, is when they come in the Premier League, there is a possibility they don't work out. There is a possibility that it doesn't work out for them. I think with Leroy Sane is slightly different. He's already come in the Premier League, and he's for me, he's proven he can work. He can be a quality player. He's a Premier League he's a Premier League player. Probably injuries could be one thing to be afraid of, especially as he enters his late 20s, 27, 28, 29. But if Mikel Arteta is convinced that Leroy Sane will be having enough rotation with the likes of Saka, with the likes of Gabriel Martinelli I would 100% take him at Arsenal because I know he's got the goals. There is a player in there, and at Bayern, I do not think he's going to be. He's going to epitomize his full potential. I don't think he will optimize his full potential. I don't think. But if he comes into this Arsenal side, he has a point to prove. For me, Leroy Sane would be a wonderful signing for Arsenal this summer and even next summer. Wonderful, wonderful signing if Arsenal can pull that one off. And next summer, I think it will be a little bit, quite cheaper. This summer it was about 60 million. I think next summer his contract will be around 1 to 2 years, left to expire. That means you can get him for around 40 or even below. For me, 40 million pounds. They want to, Bayern want to sign Konrad Laimer. I think they will be very okay with clubs coming in and they'll be listening to offers for Leroy Sane. So for me, if there is a small window where Arsenal sign Leroy Sane, Fabrizio says, look, there is a possibility that we go back. There is a possibility that we try to sign him again. I would sign him. I would definitely sign Leroy Sane. Now, I've asked you a question at the beginning of the video, and the question is, would you be happy, or do you think Arsenal should start thinking about signing in a new striker? And I'm not talking about a backup striker. I'm talking about a striker to start with Gabriel Jesus up top. And the reason as to why I've asked you is there is a striker that would love to sign for Arsenal, and the name is Jonas Wind. So he says, if we look into the future, he was asked about his future, and he said, if we look into the future, Arsenal would be a dream destination for me, as it has always been my favorite club. I think the Premier League is the best league in the world, but that's not what I'm focusing on at the moment. Jonas Wind plays for Wolfsburg in Germany. Now, he's not played many minutes for Wolfsburg in Germany, but he's played as many minutes and as many games as 114 for FC Copenhagen before. 114 games, 46 goals, and 25 assists. That's quite decent. That is in the Danish league, right? That is quite decent. So far, he's played 16 games for Wolfsburg, 5 goals and 1 assist. Also, that is not bad in the German Bundesliga. I mean, that is his start to life in the German Bundesliga. That is not bad. Yeah, that is not bad. So he says he would love to sign for Arsenal. And I mean, when I saw the interview, it just made that question pop up in my mind. Should we try to sign another striker? Now, remember, we wanted the likes of Victor Osimhen alongside Gabriel Jesus. We wanted the likes of Dusan Vlahovic, and we're also interested in Darwin Núñez in January. What all these strikers have in common, including the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, what they have in common is they spend more of their time in the penalty area than Gabriel Jesus. Now, we know what Mikel Arteta is trying to do, and we know the style of play that he wants, and we know the kind of impact Gabriel Jesus has had, in this on this Arsenal side. World class, absolutely world class. But then the question and the need for goals has actually not gone away, and that is my concern. Right from last season, we talked about scoring goals, and we talked about Arsenal finding a striker that can be a fox in the box, a poacher that is going to give you 20 to 25 goals in a campaign. Gabriel Jesus can be that for Arsenal, but he is not a guarantee. Gabriel Jesus is a guarantee when it comes to hold-up play, when it comes to helping the team to play together and play well. But when it comes to guaranteeing you 22 and above goals in a campaign, he's not that kind of player. Now, I'm not saying Jonas Wind is, and I don't see any possibilities of Jonas Wind signing for Arsenal anytime soon. Not in January, not even next summer. I think Jonas Wind would have signed for Arsenal under Arsene Wenger. Because under Arsene Wenger, that is when much of our unplanned transfer business happened. A player just says, I would love to play for Arsenal one day, and then we send scouts to the guy, And then our scouts, I don't know how good or bad they were during those times, but they could easily be swayed by a player that makes no sense. Chamak, for instance, Nicholas Bentner, for instance, and a few Johan Joru and a few other players. So Jonas Wind, I think he's one of it's one of those scenarios where a player wants to play for Arsenal, a player wants to play for a club, but the quality and the standards that Arsenal have raised in the recent times, for me, just justifies that Jonas Wind will never play for Arsenal. I'm sorry to say, he will never play for Arsenal. I've not really looked at him that much, but I don't think he's the kind of player Arsenal are looking for. But if I were to sign a striker, if I were to sign another striker for Arsenal, definitely it would be Victor Osimhen. Now, he misses a lot of chances. I watch him for Napoli all the time. Actually, I think out of the 5 or 6 games Napoli have played this campaign, I think I've watched 3. Yeah. And I've watched highlights of all the other games, including their game against Liverpool in the UEFA Champions League, where I thought Osimhen was absolutely superb. So, why I like Osimhen is, if you brought him into this Arsenal side from Napoli, it wouldn't actually matter the quality, because at Napoli, it's having the likes of Visha Varashelia, you're having the likes of Zelensik, Peter Zelensik. You have a lot of quality around him. So if you brought him in this Arsenal side, there is no drop in quality. Actually, I thought if you brought him in the Arsenal side, he would elevate our attack. He would elevate our forward line a little bit better. But that would be at the expense of Gabriel Jesus. And I don't think Mikel Arteta is willing to sacrifice Gabriel Jesus at any cost or for anyone. So, but for me, in my opinion, and we will talk about this, I think Arsenal need a striker. Arsenal need a serious number 9. Arsenal need a goal poacher. Gabriel Jesus will do everything, but he will not score for us 30 goals in a campaign. And for me to compete in this league, you need someone like Harry Kane. And that is, for me, the difference between Spurs and Arsenal and Chelsea at the moment is Harry Kane. How many goals has Kane scored already in this campaign? Around 5? Around 6? I'm not sure. But the difference is Harry Kane. So we need a number 9 up top. There is a lot to dive into this week. The few positives, the likes of Caicedo. Brighton will be listening to offers for Caicedo. And now the fact that they've lost Graham Potter, I think they will become a little bit more easy in terms of selling players. So Caicedo is for sale. I think Arsenal should rush on this one. So anything that happens, I will be able to let you know. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well, and I'll speak to you right in the next one.